bit players a small part. That's the
Yeah.
same thing that happened with Dead Man Down and The Call,
Yeah.
where they produced those movies and they were like, "Can you put Wade Barrett in this movie or David Otunga as like a background character?" No, literally,
Put Wade Barrett
that's
in
what it
for a
was.
walk-on part. Yeah, that's literally what they did. They've done that a couple of times.
Oculus was, I think, one. Although I don't remember any wrestlers in Oculus,
No,
and
they
I
just
heard
bought the rights for it because apparently the guy who was heading up the studio, he basically talked about WWE acquiring production rights for certain movies, and Oculus got a huge like fanfare for it because it did well in the film festivals. So they bought the rights to it along with other production partners. So that went out, and when it went to the cinema, it bombed. So now they're doing a different thing, which is we'll produce a movie for you. They've now got a deal with Wesley Snipes, who with his film company.
Wait, hang on. I thought he was in prison for tax evasion.
No, he got out. That was
years.
That was like he got out. That's how he was able to be in Expendables 3. They waited until he got out and then they filmed him.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
I liked it.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was one of my favorites out of the Expendables movie. It was very story driven. I loved Mel Gibson's villain character in it, but the problem was the blood, the guts, the gore, there was none of that. They decided to shoot like the death scenes and stuff, but then cut out.
Was there 12?
Yeah, they jump cut.
The other ones instead of 15.
Instead of basically shooting it like it was a 12 movie, they jump cut all the death scenes.
Basically, they shot it for R and then chopped it down for a PG-13 so they can get the initial ticket sales.
Yeah, it looked rough.
And that's why it failed.
Yeah, it's kind of one of the reasons why it failed. And also there was a bit of an issue.
But then, slight random tangent. If we could pick a wrestling, or wrestling produced movie that we actually liked, what would it be?
Because I have a personal favorite. No Holds Barred is a personal favorite of mine because it's shitty, it's cheesy, but it's still fun to watch.
What was the one on the island with
The Condemned?
Oh, I actually really love that movie. With and it actually had the English football player Vinnie Jones in it. Yeah. I really, really like that.
He's not aging well. He's not doing well.
I you know what? I hate John Cena in the movie, but I like the First Marine. That movie, if you'd have had a better lead in there, that movie would have been.
But that was just so funny. That movie was like Cena. That was like watching a what's his name? Oh, for God's sake! Back in the day, trying to think. Martial artist, Steven Seagal.
Oh, Seagal! Like early years, Seagal would have been awesome in this movie.
But it was literally like it was written for him because every time like you'd see an explosion hit Cena and he comes out unscathed. It was I couldn't stop laughing every time.
He's indestructible.
Yeah, it was literally like you were booking Cena in this movie because he was no one.
Yeah, like I'm sitting.
Like something would blow up and he was standing there and everyone else would die and Cena's just standing there going, "Oh, just a scratch."
Like I'm sitting there thinking, like, oh man, why couldn't they've gotten like a Scott Adkins in that lead role, or even like for like a little bit of a higher quality actor? How about like a Gerard Butler, like in that kind of role?
Like that would have been fucking awesome.
Yeah, like a real lead. Like everything else about that movie was fine and kind of like cheesy, except I hated Cena in it. But if I had to pick one WWE film, I'd probably go with that one.
But do you know what it is? I think they're trying to book Cena as being like The Rock in a sense. But the problem with Cena is when he's on camera doing these movies, he has no personality outside.
You beat me to the punch, Burhan. You beat me to the punch.
No. I will defend you on that. His parts in Trainwreck and his parts in Sisters are actually legitimately funny.
Like that's the thing. When he's doing comedy, he's funny. I saw him in Daddy's Home as well. Like he's in the end scene. He has this little bit part.
He tries to act. I have a plank in my garden that can act as well as him being.
Yeah. But there's a bit where he goes to him. Oh, you must be Red. And he's like, nope, and just walks off. And then you got like he moves over to Mark Wahlberg. What's his name? Will Ferrell, and he goes, "That guy's arm's as big as your leg," and I cracked up. I was laughing my head off. I was like, "That's brilliant," because it was like one line. He was able to emote that one line. Do you know what I mean? Because he plays tough very well. In Trainwreck, again, it wasn't him being funny. It was what he was saying was funny. Does that make sense?
But his delivery was
his delivery was brilliant because he was just like,
anyway, gentlemen,
I'm gonna get
we're
you,
drifting off
and
topic.
I'm gonna take you, and I'm gonna put my mouth and put it in your ass because that's what I do. You know, I eat your ass. And she's like, dude, your comeback sound really gay.
Yeah. But Dave is right. We are straying from the original.
Now, let's go back to the brand split as you was talking about. Now, the brand split. The thing is, we've got positives that came out the last brand split. You had guys like Eddie Guerrero, basically. JBL, again, a guy who was always seen as a career mid-carder, not even a career mid-carder, he was seen as a career lower carder at one point, the APA. He, like, busted out as a lead villain for SmackDown, and it was something that was a Paul Heyman idea, something that was proposed there and built him up very, very quickly, and it was like a few beats before he even became this, like, big villain, and people took to him really well. You had some great feuds there. Kurt Angle, again, as we were talking about with him. You had amazing matches between him and Brock Lesnar live on SmackDown and stuff. So you could see that there's potential here, especially with the talent that you have. You could have SmackDown become the worker brand. So because this is my theory. My theory is you're going to have Raw would be the brand where Vince can push Roman Reigns without issue. Does that make sense? You know, because they're going to do it anyway. Then you have SmackDown as the brand where it's for the fans. You'll have the workers on there, the guys that deserve the belt, but never got the opportunity to get the belt because of interference from the writers and interference from people like backstage. And this is kind of where we're led on to the Cody Rhodes statement, where he was talking about how apparently a couple of the lead writers were hitting on developmental divas. Instead of actually focusing on writing the shows, you know, he freaking tore WWE a new one in that kind of letter, you know.
Right, and you know what? I do think that there is potential.
Yeah.
But here's why I'm hesitant to kind of get on the bandwagon as far as positives.
Yeah.
Because why did the original brand split die?
It died basically because Vince didn't want to compete.
Right.
And he would just basically
it was the big not even so much that is I think it boils down to laziness. Yeah. I think they could have continued to keep SmackDown as its own separate brand and build up the talent that was coming up because there were still talented guys on there. Yeah. But it was a situation where once they lost Paul Heyman and Stephanie McMahon became the lead writer on both shows, it lost its voice and it just became kind of almost a tangential version of Raw, where it was just the same matches on Raw were placed on SmackDown. Yeah. No stories were developed, and all it was just Raw recaps.
And they got lazy. Crossover as well, and then Teddy Long doing holla 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 every 5 minutes.
Yeah, it just became a shadow of its former self. And I go back to what I said about even the stars that they would pillage from SmackDown. They would bring them onto Raw just for the name recognition, but they would have them lose. I mean, going back to what I said, how many times did they have the World Heavyweight Champion, the top star on SmackDown, losing out to some like a mid-card guy?
Hey, are we basically saying that they combined for, obviously profit because,
no, it wasn't
that wants to make money. It was because they combined for profit, but they also when they did that, they feared, the carryover.
Well, Raw was declining, and they had lack of roster depth at the time because they kept firing people. What they would do is they would job people out, and then people would either quit or get fired. Mm-hmm. Guys like MVP, who was considered a big star on SmackDown, went to Raw, they destroyed him. Right. You had guys like Shelton Benjamin, who, in my opinion, should have been a world champ ages ago, get destroyed and then released. You had all these other guys, and they kept making excuses of why this guy's not getting over on here, but they were getting over on SmackDown.
Also, keep in mind there was that period where they just could not make stars out of FCW. I mean, you just look at there's a dead zone between I'd say 2005. That's when they stopped their deal with OVW, and 2012, where I mean they would bring up guys like anybody remember Ricky Ortiz or Eric Escobar or the Geminis or Mordecai. Yeah. Like look at most of the guys that flopped when they brought him in for ECW.
The most promising was Mordecai.
So basically, it's better to absorb your opposition and do fuck all with them than compete with them.
Basically, what it was I consider it a lot to do with Vince's ego, because they were being mullered by SmackDown, and instead of changing tact and sitting there thinking we need to freshen things up, he destroyed the roster and then went, we're just going to do it cross-branded, and because it was cross-branded, it just turned into one roster again. So they released a huge load of talent, and then it ended up becoming the Cena show. So everything just had John Cena on it. So ticket sales for SmackDown, because of the fact that it wasn't seen as independent anymore, the SmackDown tours weren't doing really well as opposed to the Raw tours, because it was the same shit, different show. And then it just ended up fizzling out.
You say ego. I boil it down to laziness. I think they could have put more effort. They could have pushed more guys that were in the mid card, but they just decided not to, because to them SmackDown was a non-entity. It was Raw's the flagship show. SmackDown is just kind of, it's 2 hours that we have to fill because we have we have to fill them. We've got obligations with the network. So let's just kind of just do Raw Light at that point. And I think at that point they were like, let's just combine the rosters. We're already bringing guys over, the top stars from SmackDown to Raw. Fuck it, let's just combine the two. It goes back to laziness, and that's what worries me about this brand split, which is, as for all the potential that it has initially, I think within a year it's going to devolve back into that, where WWE is going to get lazy. They're going to.
Well, this is the thing where I think they need to kind of concentrate on. You need two. If it was me booking the brand split, I would have two fresh writers. So a fresh writer for Raw, a fresh writer for SmackDown. This is what DC Comics kind of like do. Marvel does. Whenever a book gets stale, they freshen up the writing team, so it can give it new stories and a fresh perspective. Even though people are hating the fact that Captain America is working for Hydra at the moment, it's got people talking.
Oh God, don't get me started on that.
It's got people talking. The whole internet has exploded. So it's done. It's public. People are going to read the second issue because of what's happened in the first issue. Does that make sense? So if you basically make the shows more appealing by freshening up the writing teams every 3 to 6 months, it makes things a lot more interesting. Even say like you could even give it up to a year. So say have a writing team on SmackDown and a writing team on Raw. After a year, you change them over. You can even rotate people around. Maybe move the writing team from SmackDown to next. Move the next writing team onto Raw.
That's what it is.
And then you change that around so you freshen up the stories. 2, you have to focus on your main talents. Don't job anybody out. So in my opinion, don't have a title versus title match on a super show. Have a title versus title match maybe on that one pay-per-view that they do to see who's like, the best one. Do you remember that they did that whole Raw versus SmackDown pay-per-view?
Battleground
For Supremacy. So, they can do that, but like not have it on a super show to give these champions a chance to grow. I think some of Edge's best moments were when he was on SmackDown being World Heavyweight Champion rather than being on Raw versus John Cena every 5 minutes. You've got to look at that, and you've got to make sure that you keep these entities separate. And as you said, bring back the bi-monthly pay-per-views for each show, so you give them a chance to extend storylines and give them a bit more depth.
Unfortunately, I think with that, where that's going to be, I don't think you're going to have it be bi-monthly. I think what it'll probably evolve into is we can have 2 special events a month. We'll have a Raw special event and a SmackDown special event. We're putting them on the network anyway, so fuck it. It just gives us more content, which I'm fine with. It makes sense. They're going to have more. They're going to have the precedence now to have more pay-per-views. So when you have your own platform, why not? That does bring up.
But then there's a word that they're missing right now, which is if they do that, and I totally understand. I agree with you, Miguel, that if they do that, but then it becomes convoluted.
Sorry.
Not if you have the right writers. I mean, if they're just taking the same model that they have of a pay-per-view a month and just splitting it between the rosters, as long as you've got a good enough writing team, you can continue that pace.
Yes.
And
the one big thing as well at the moment where they basically need to focus on is you need to develop your heels and faces, because currently every good face needs a good heel. And I don't care what people say about you can pick and choose who you want. No. right? Kevin Owens, the reason why he's so good is he's a heel. Yes, people cheer, chant his name a couple of times, but the most of the times people adore his work ethic, but they think his personality is fucking atrocious, right? Which is
right. Yeah, heels are supposed to be
Agree.
booed. It goes back to a buddy of mine, actually a friend of our own Chris Jester, who's a buddy of mine. They were at a TNA show. This would have been like 2007, 2008, and they met LAX, and this was at the time where they were doing the whole gimmick with them and Conan. And he told them, he was like, dude, I love you guys. You guys are my favorite wrestlers. I know you're heels, but I'm gonna cheer for you regardless. And they just looked at him and they like they dressed him down. It's like, no, you need to boo us. We're heels. You gotta hate us. And I get that mindset. It's like, you're not everybody is the cool heel. Some people just need to be hated, especially if they're trying to get over as a heel.
Pretty much, and that's the thing when it comes down to this.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, if you become a successful heel, then there's that kind of anti-hero thing in there, isn't there?
Right, but that's when everybody is keen to it. Like eventually, if you're a good enough heel, the fans are going to turn you babyface. Obviously that's going to happen, but it should only happen when you have no choice in the matter. Like Steve Austin, became a babyface because he was just, the fans were just cheering him too much. The fans are, and that's kind of.
And doesn't every like what you're saying right now, but doesn't every good heel eventually end up, on the other side of the fence?
True, but if they're good enough at their job, they can stay a heel without
Ric
getting the
Flair is a
fans to
prime
get
example
behind
of
him.
it.
No, not even Ric Flair. Chris Jericho. Jericho knows exactly what he's doing. He is a heel that you want to hate, but at the same time, it's not that you're tired of seeing him. You want to buy into him. You want to play
I
along.
can't believe I'm going to say this, but it's a perfect observation on WWE, which is sometimes it's good to maintain a level of being hated.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the
Well,
thing.
that's the thing with WWE is they want to control the reaction. That's why they, if you notice with Roman Reigns, they turn the volume down when he comes out so you can't hear the boos. Listen carefully whenever he comes out. You can literally hear it where it goes boo.
Yeah, and people like you. I've heard like a lot of the shoot interviews and stuff where these guys will come in like Scott Hall, Sean Waltman. They're all sitting there going, "Oh, people boo Roman, but they cheer him, but they do it because it's the cool thing." No, they boo him because of the fact that Roman Reigns is in a position that one he doesn't deserve. Because if you hear the interviews that he cuts on people, it's ridiculous. Like I'm still getting paid anyway. The second thing
I
is
will say this in his defense, though, he is a consummate professional.
no, he isn't. As I said, if you listen
I
to the
think he
radio,
is.
if you listen to the radio interviews, no, he isn't. And the second thing is he's been put in the position as the company's golden boy,
Right.
right? And that's the problem. You're booking
People
him.
don't like to be told who they should cheer for. They want to know that the guy that they're cheering for is the guy that they want to cheer. They
It's
don't want to be
organic.
told this is who
Yeah.
you're going to cheer for. And
This
that's
is
the problem with Roman Reigns.
yeah,
It's like
and
a
the problem.
boxing match, isn't it? In the sense that, when these people walk down through the ring and people are shouting and booing and cheering at them, and you see the placards that people wave saying like, hey, I love this guy, you should fucking kick the living shit out of this bloke, and the other people have, placards saying like, oh, no, kill him, he's a fucking asshole. No, it's like you said, it should be very organic.
But it isn't. And we won't get into that because that's a whole discussion. But I do kind of want to go back to
But that's the
what
thing,
we're
though.
saying with.
When we're saying with the brand split, at least it means that you've got opportunities for both sides. Because the
Right.
one of the major good things about the brand
But
split
is it a
was
real brand split though? This is what we're saying
it's
though.
it's
Is it a real
basically
brand?
yes, the rosters will
Because
be separate. They will only come together at special events, as
I
Miguel
don't know.
was saying.
I can just feel someone's hands from above at the top of the office.
The thing is, it's
Wriggling
Vince
around.
McMahon. It's his moods, and this is what Miguel was saying was it's been echoed by Austin. It's been echoed by Jim Ross. It's been echoed by loads of other stuff, loads of other like people within who've worked with Vince to say Vince changes his moods very often. Right, one minute he can be pumped about something, the next minute, like a kid on ADHD, he's like sitting there going, yeah, I don't think it's gonna work now. Now let's do
Right.
He must be
this.
the only bloke in the world that has a period.
Pretty much, and this is the reason why you see guys like Noe Jose, which you know is probably never going to get over,
No,
but
but you
they'll
know
do
what
it
I'm trying to
anyway.
say, Mike, don't you? Which is, are we, like it's a brand split, but is it really? This is the point I'm trying to
It won't be
make.
run
Is it
as two separate
really a brand
brands, no.
split?
The reason, the thing about it is it's got to be split on TV, but it won't be run as two separate brands. It won't be run as two
Well,
separate
that's my point,
projects.
though, which
It's
means it
still under the
doesn't.
same company umbrella. The thing
Yeah, but
about
it's
it
not
is,
technically a brand split, then, is it?
well,
Really?
actually, it will be for, and then, let me explain this. You'll have the IC title, which is going to remain on Raw, the US title, which is going to be on SmackDown.
Well, they haven't specified that. This is just speculation, and,
Yeah.
and this is going to actually, what I want to do, and one of the big things I wanted to do is, after we, speak our piece, I want to do kind of a mock draft. Like, we'll go down a list of the rosters and see who we think should go where, and we'll play that out towards the end. But basically the consensus is the mid card belts, the IC and US are going to be on separate shows.
Yes.
They have confirmed that they are going to be splitting up the WWE title into two separate titles.
Yes.
Now here's
That's
something.
interesting.
Here's where I'm going to debate Burhan. Burhan believes that they're going to bring back the old-fashioned
No, I said I
World
hope
Heavyweight title
they
belt.
bring it back. Yes.
Yeah, the old big gold belt that they got from World Championship Wrestling,
which is my favourite title, bar none, because it's the title that Ric Flair held, and also I consider it the Workers' Championship.
Here's why I disagree. Here's why I don't think that's going to be the case, is because the big thing with the WWE World Heavyweight title that they have now is brand recognition. That's why they changed the belt to now where it's just a big ass W on it. They want that notoriety. When you walk out on interviews and you hold that belt, they want to know it's the WWE belt.
So you think they're going to have two of the
ultimately,
same belt on two different shows?
I think what they're going to do is they're going to probably red tinge the Raw belt and just have a copy of that tinged blue for SmackDown.
Oh God, I hope not. That would be so fucking gay.
It would be, but it goes back to the laziness thing.
Ultimately, these people, it's business. Ultimately, these people are too scared to lose what they have. Mm-hmm. So, will there be any real massive amount of change?
Yes, in a sense, you would. And we're using air quotes. You can't actually see me use these air quotes. In a sense, you're going to see more people get pushed.
Yeah, they will have to rely more heavily on lower mid card guys in their main events, and we'll talk more about that. Like I said, when we talk about the roster,
I know I'm the junior bloke right now in this knowledge of wrestling, but part of me just thinks, are things gonna really change? Because
that's the thing. You want to hope that it is. I'm hoping that it does. But like I said, going back to the laziness thing, I wonder, is it going to? And here's where I will give one shining light to SmackDown.
People fear change.
Well, they've done kind of the right thing on SmackDown, and I think I know what Miguel's going to say. I'm going to echo his sentiments on this.
Right. The thing about SmackDown and where they may have a leg up is based on some stories that I've heard. Vince doesn't really pay attention to SmackDown, and the reason is because by the time he's done, organizing Raw, he's too tired to do it. So you're not going to see a lot of, especially the fact that it's going live. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Vince's eye on SmackDown. There's a good chance that they might have somebody else to be the final say on SmackDown, and it would not shock me if that's either Triple H or Shane McMahon. And if that's the case, I think that gives them a leg up on being different, because those two guys have ambition. They have a creative eye to it. Triple H obviously proved that with NXT. Shane McMahon proved
Triple H for me, by the way. Triple H for me.
Oh yeah. And Shane McMahon, obviously, with his deal that he did in his business in China for a couple of years, he clearly has an eye for creativity.
And that's another part of the reason why they're doing this is because they want to crack the China market. They're even looking at more Chinese superstars in order to kind of bring a bit of recognition, like they did with India. They brought in the Great Khali so they can get more recognition in India. It worked. Then they could fire the guy, even though he wasn't the best worker.
That's kind of what they're trying to do with Nakamura, and what they hoped to do with Itami before he got his big injury was crack the Japanese market.
By the way, breaking news: he is returning within the next 3 weeks.
I'm glad.
Oh, nice.
I've said it before. My biggest fear is that they get lazy and they decide to just pair Itami with Nakamura and bring them up as an Asian tag team.
Well, the thing is, Nakamura's actually going for the NXT Championship currently,
Mm.
and he actually cut a promo. His English is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
Right, I've heard he's fluent. Like
Yeah,
Itami, I think needed to learn English, but Nakamura does know at least decent English.
yeah. He basically he said he looked at Austin Aries and went, "Do you understand Japanese?" And Austin Aries goes, "I don't even understand you." And he goes, "Me neither." And then he just cuts a promo saying, "Well, I think you understand this," and then cut a promo saying he's going to be NXT champion. And I liked it. I think he's very flamboyant. Does his English need to get a lot better? Yes, but he's actually miles ahead of the other guys that they brought from international waters into the WWE.
Shit, he cuts a better promo than Baron Corbin.
Yes, people freaking popped hardcore when he cut his promo. And he's another eye-catching talent that once they bring up, he's going to probably end up on Raw or SmackDown because they're going to end up having to push him heavily towards a world
Mm-hmm.
championship. The one thing about Nakamura, which I have to say, like every pore, every orifice sweats world champion. You
Right,
can't ignore it.
he's got that charisma to him
Yeah,
where he's eye catching.
yeah, and he's got that it factor. He's not the most athletically built guy, but he's athletically gifted.
Right,
And
right.
and the thing is, when you look at him, I looked at him and I'm like,
Yeah,
this guy.
but
If
people like
I was
that. People like that.
no,
It's like
but
it's almost like the original Rocky movie in the
yeah,
sense
I'm
that
seeing it from the fans' perspective, but I'm also seeing it from Vince. From Vince's, who would look at him and go, "No, I don't see anything special." But the moment you see this guy perform and get in the ring and cut a promo, you're just everything goes out the window. We've had the benefit of seeing him in Japan, so we know what he's like, what most of us have. Um, and the great thing, if you're a member of Revolution, we're at Wrestling MMA Revolution, our forum, um, you'll see the fact we share a lot of videos of Nakamura. So he's a great character to have on the WWE roster, more so than someone like AJ Styles. And I'm going to
Mm.
actually point this out. Nakamura, I think, is miles ahead of Styles, even though Styles is a big, big name. So you look at that, and they're going to eventually have to get these guys in because currently, I think Vince's favors guys like Roman Reigns. Vince wants a Roman Reigns type character as his main guy. He believes Reigns is going to be your next John Cena, which I think is ridiculous, but I think that's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a funny feeling that on the other brand, you're going to see a lot more of these worker guys, a lot more guys like Nakamura, Joe, Styles, Balor, these these guys who aren't considered Vince McMahon guys, but they will be considered Triple H guys or even Shane
see,
McMahon guys. Guys that you see have the potential to get over because these guys understand what the wrestling is in this era where Vince
Right.
doesn't.
no,
Here's
you
where I'm
see.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go on,
I
Miguel.
was gonna say, and here's where I debate you on that
Yeah.
is I think Vince has such a vision of what his product wants that I think he's going to try to spread that evenly among both brands. I don't think he's going to split it that strikingly. I think Heyman did because that was what he wanted, but I think in this case I heard the greatest analogy of this. WWE is like a person who makes sandwiches, and they have like 10 jars of jelly, but 5 jars, like 2 jars of peanut butter. Instead of just making just like some sandwiches with peanut butter
Worst
and
sandwich
jelly,
ever, by the way. Worst sandwich ever. Just saying. Sorry.
right, but Vince McMahon is kind of like instead of just making some sandwiches with peanut butter and jelly and some with just jelly, he's the type of person that will like try to spread as little peanut butter on all the sandwiches just so every sandwich can have a little bit of peanut butter. He doesn't know how to just do something in one spot. He's got to spread it everywhere,
No,
you
I
know,
agree with you.
and yeah, that's why I don't see the situation where we're just going to have an all worker show. He's going to be like, well, we've got guys like AJ Styles and Finn Balor on this show, but we need star power. Put the Big Show on there.
But saying that, I'm going to counter your analogy to say that the Big Show hasn't been on WWE TV for months, and it's because
That is true.
they wanted to make it a newer, more euthanize talent rather than having guys like the Big Show and Kane on there. And these two have had a break, so much so that I think Glenn Jacobs may be retiring if he wins this seat.
Oh yeah, for those of you that don't know, he's considering doing becoming a mayor in his hometown. So, but he said he's not going to consider doing that until at least after the election, the presidential election. So we'll see about that. But okay, my analogy then. We got AJ Styles in this.